and welcome to the podcast Football Soup, the show that is dedicated to the ingredients of football. We look at coaches that think are special, and of course, coaches that are special. We look at players and their special dribble qualities. Of course, the tactics on how to manage the game, and players with weird attitudes. Physiology in football. Synchron coaching, why not? And of course, tactics on how to surprise your opponent. Tournaments, who's winning, who's losing, and who is on fire. Anything that is related to football. Power training with the ball. And of course, talent development. And last but not least, football and science. And overall, of course, coaches that talk more than that they win. Enjoy the podcast. So while we are mowing the grass here in the beautiful no-com this morning, think about, is there a specific formula for football? An equation, what plus what plus what is a football result? It's like preparing a soup with 5 ingredients, and you can produce the same soup over and over again because you know the ingredients and you know how to prepare it. In football, probably that is not possible, but I'm trying to find that equation. If we would have asked Einstein, who is dead, so we can't ask him, but he would have probably said something like, football, we can't blame gravity for falling in love with football. And I say that as a joke because I see a lot of emotion involved in football that blocks the objectivity of what really is happening in football. Secondly, trying to do the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is called insanity, and I see that with a lot of clubs of coaches doing that. So I'm looking for not the ingredients in football, I'm looking more for concepts, and within those concepts you look for ingredients. Now let's have a look at the first concept that I think is important. The first concept is actually the most important one. If you look at the illustration, you could say, or I would say, football is an organized chaos. Football is an interconnected puzzle, and any chaos, any disorder has a secret order. Compare it to like a battlefield. Football is a battlefield of constant chaos, and the one who controls his own chaos and the chaos of his enemy will most likely win. And I say most likely because I accept the chaos, but I'm not sure if football chaos accepts me. There are always surprises within football that you just simply don't control. So you can make an easy and simple conclusion that there is no 100% guarantee or formula that gives you a guarantee result in football. And as much as that is, I would want you to know that football is an interconnected puzzle. Don't see it as something separate. The second concept is space and time, or moreover timing. Space speaks for itself. You play it within a certain area, and within this area you play 11 against 11 with all kinds of dynamics going on. And while those dynamics going on, the one who is able to use the space most effectively, in my opinion, he will have the most chances to win, and either if that's offensively or defensively. Time is timing, in my opinion. You're either too early, too late, or you're just simply on time within football. And you can see that here, for instance, how Zidane demonstrates that. And if you want to analyze football and football actions, you need to look at space and time. Let's have a look at the third concept. It's about the approach of the game. Let's look at the 2 best coaches in the world who both have a track record of winning more than losing. So they must have some kind of a formula, or as I said, an equation to win. Those styles are very different from each other. If we look at the first one, it's called like parking the bus, Mourinho, and it's based on not losing. That is what he wants. Of course, he wants to win, but his focus is on not losing. The emphasis is on defending. That means we give the initiative to the opponent and react to that. That means a reactive style. The second approach of Guardiola is more taking initiative on behalf of the opponent, dominating, and is trying to win. So the emphasis is more on attacking and not waiting. And we call this a proactive style. Now, without judging both of them, I have a clearly preference, but I would say that the way Mourinho put things together is a reactive art, because they win a lot. I call it an art. And the way Guardiola put things together is a proactive art. Let's have a look at the fourth concept. The fourth concept is about scoring. Football, the essence of the game is scoring goals. Now, the difficulty of scoring in football is very high. If you compare it to other sports like basketball, where almost every minute you see a goal, then we can say the scoring element in football is very difficult. This difficulty makes it very emotional, because the moment there is a goal, let's say in the last minute, you see one team extremely happy and the other team completely frustrated, and we forget everything else that what happened before. So the difficulty in scoring creates a lot of subjectivity, in my opinion, in football, because we forget a lot. The second thing is, if scoring is that important in football, then there are two key positions for me. That is the goalkeeper, the one that avoids the opponent of scoring, and players that can score the goal, most likely the striker. Both are key players, key positions that create a lot of trust in a team. And if you have both available, I would always build my team around that as my key positions. The fifth concept is the states that the teams are in during a game. These are defending, attacking, and the transition moments between the two. These states, or these dynamics, they are built out of ingredients, or that the coach makes the way of defending, the way of attacking, and the way of transitions. He makes it recognizable. He needs to have some kind of a vision in order to represent that. These things are very invisible. They are very difficult. They are very interconnected, as I said before. So the coach needs to have a vision in the art of seeing the invisible and make it visible for and the players and for also the supporters at the club. Concept number 6 is about the most decisive factors in the game. It doesn't matter on which level you play, where in the world or age group. What are the moments that games get decided? If we look at the first one, it is the individual creativity, the individual quality of players. The one who is more special than another player, he can decide games. We can name many, but you get what I'm talking about. The physical abilities, look at Ronaldo, he jumps higher than anyone else. Speed, power, endurance, so physical qualities, they make a difference in the game, especially these days. The third one is about luck and errors. So referees that make stupid mistakes, or players that make stupid mistakes, like a stupid back pass, or a keeper who makes a blunder by kicking over the ball. You know the moments. These are decisive factors. Set pieces, 50%, 60% during tournaments, during the whole league, are decided by set pieces. So set pieces is a very important thing even to train, and a decisive factor in games. Concept number 7 is the physical abilities. What is needed during a game from players? Simply technique, that means the skill in order to pass and control, etc. The physical abilities, speed, power, and endurance. Cognition, it's another word for tactique. It's how do you recognize patterns, how do you read the game. Then mental and character, meaning how do you deal with stress or setbacks. Concept number 8, and the last one, is about the opponent. Like in rugby, you have before the game where they try to intimidate the opponent by doing a haka, but that is not possible in football and really weird. But being invincible lies in the defense and the possibility of victory in the attack. This applies mainly to your own team. So controlling the opponent team is very difficult. You should only exploit their weaknesses. So making good analysis before you play the opponent team from next week. So while we're finishing up mowing the grass, we have a quick review. We have to close the stadium. What is the scientific formula for football? We looked at what plus what plus what is football or football result. Rather than having specific ingredients, it's more about concepts, and it's about concept plus a concept plus a concept. That is football, and those concepts on itself have specific ingredients in order to go in depth, but that's maybe something for a next podcast. So let's have a look at the specific concepts. That was one. Football is an interconnected puzzle, so you should not see just only the physical part of football or the tactique. They are all interconnected. Secondly is the time and space. Very important how to analyze how effective do you use it. Proactive and reactive. Mourinho versus Guardiola, the styles. 4. The essential part of the essence of football is scoring, and in my opinion that brings a lot of subjectivity, because after score we forget a lot of what happened. Then we have the 3 states, or the defending, attacking, and the transitions between the two, the states of the team that you are in during a game. Then the decisive factors, there were 4: individual creativity, physical quality, errors, and luck, set pieces. And then we have the physical abilities that are needed for a game: technique, physique, cognition, and character. And the last one, of course, is the opponent. So let's have a closing word on this episode. The winner is always right. We look at winning and losing in football because they are related to those 8 concepts that we spoke about, but in my opinion not always the winner is necessarily the better team. There's a lot of bias and subjectivity in football, even if you look at experts, the way they analyze on TV. Now, what plus what is result in football? For most team sports, the what is a concept, what we spoke about, and most individual sports, the what is more a specific ingredient, and I call it ingredient for the sake of making it easier. Concepts are less difficult or more difficult to controllable, and than ingredients, those specific ingredients. Now let's take a runner, a specific athlete, an individual sport where the ingredient is speed and technique. That brings him the result. Now let's have 2 of them running against each other, runner A and runner B. They have both the same technique, but runner B is a little bit quicker. Who's going to win? Of course, winner B. That brings him the result. It's a clear difference. Now let's say runner B, just 5 meters before the finish, he falls down and runner A overtakes him. Was runner A now the better runner? No, he just won this game, but he's not in quality the better runner. That was runner B. I don't think you can argue with that. How does that translate to football? Now let's say we have team A and we have team B. Both teams, for the sake of argument, they are equal. Of course, in football it's difficult, but let's say like that. Now, what are the most objective indicators to measure this? To me, it's the created chances, the chances against you, and the goals scored. Let's say team A had 10 chances created where they could from score. Team B 1. They had 1 chance against them, team A, and of course team B 10 chances against them. Now team A didn't score, we're not lucky. Team B scored 1 goal because the referee gave them a penalty that was not clear, or a lucky outbreak. Now who's the better team? Everyone will say team B and I will say team A. In football, the team B won, but team A was the better team, and I think that argument is many times forgotten because we have a lot of bias in football and subjectivity. This was my first Football Soup podcast, and hopefully you had some benefit from my information. If you have any comments, please find me on Twitter at @ESChaturi, and in other cases just leave some comments below, and see you next time. Thank you and goodbye.